Alright, so we are back in Satisfactory. Hello. Last time we were working on the adaptive control unit factory and we ran into a bit of a roadblock with the water tower setup. I just spent like an additional 30 minutes or whatever just ferrying packaged water up here. And now, we have water and oil in all of these pipes, so it's probably fine. And they're definitely flowing fast enough that it's probably correct and not some horrible mistake, so that is good. So, with that all sorted out, the next thing we need to do is, I believe, we'd run into a problem where we didn't actually bring in a coal train. So let's head down to the train level. I hope you're not scared of falling, by the way. So we're down here. We have crude oil, we have limestone, we have quartz, we have deuterium, we have copper, and we have iron, but we don't have coal. So we need to just make a coal train and just stick it in somewhere so that we can have that. Now putting it on this side is kind of awkward because the rails are over here. So putting it on that side is awkward just because we have all of our fluid set up over this way. But we can just... Oh, and also there's the corner here. The corner might be an issue, but we can just push this out into this space over here and everything should still line up properly. Assuming, of course, that there's physically enough space in this area for a train station, which there should be. Alright, so this should be fine. I'm just gonna expand that out. And then transport. Actually, we have a hot bar for this. So, train station, but we need to rotate it facing this way. Then we need to line it up. How does it line up? Just directly on this boundary there. So we just go back to there. And then as far as left-right goes, it doesn't really matter. So that can go in there. And then we take this, we pull it over this way, and then curve it in. So this is ACU coal. Not weird capitalization. Alright, then we need our freight platforms, which there will be plenty of space off to the left for 1, 2, 3. And then we have to expand this back even further because trains are big. Alright, then that's freight platform number 4 and freight platform number 5. So now we have to set all of these to unload so that we can fill up these train stations with coal. Then we just pop that into there. And, we need signals. So I always just have these train stations in their own little blocks. Like that. And now we need to put the train itself in and send it off to go get some stuff. So we have locomotive with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 train cars. So now we go up here, you are ACU coal. Edit timetable. So you go to coal distributor and ACU coal. And while you're here, you wait until you're fully unloaded and then you go. So you save that, turn it on, and off it goes. Alright, so that is that. Next up, we need to get this into two belts of coal. And we need one of them to be mostly full and the other one to be mostly empty, which should be relatively easy. So let's just set this space up here. 2 belts is straightforward, because we can just use both outputs. 3 belts is where it starts getting a little complicated, but fortunately we don't have to deal with that at the moment. So we just have all of these merge up forwards. They have to actually line up with everything and not with the wrong ones. So these all go along like that. And then we have the output belt going along. And all these get connected in. Oh, that is not a real thing. Alright, there we go. So that is the main coal belt set up. Now we have to get the other one, which is just going to be just stack some mergers up. Why do they have these spaced out like this so that you always have to do this? Who knows? But we have our merger stacks in. And now we just have to do all this again. Alright, now all these go forwards. Alright, that is that. Now we have to bring the foundation all the way over here. So we have something like that. And just go another layer forwards just in case. So the top one needs to go up immediately. The bottom one is going to have to move a bit further forwards so that they don't clip, obviously. Alright, so we do that. And then let's just go back to there. And boom. So that is 2 belts out of this train. So now, while we're here, what I need to do is I need to set up the buffers, because the trains obviously won't always be here unloading, so there might be a bit of a delay, especially like if the trains are unloading and that stops. So I want to just have a couple industrial storage crates, probably just 1 industrial storage crate each. Now this one will get 2 because there are 2 belts, and that's just the easiest way of doing it. So we do that. Then we come over here. And how do we want these to be facing? I think we want them to be facing this way. So they can do that. Alright, then this needs a little bit of extra space there, and then we have to put the storage crates in. And this does not have to be rocket science. Just have a box every so often. And once we connect these up, the trains are going to start emptying into them. So that should be fun. Alright, just a couple more belts, and then this part will be done. And then we get to be on the fun part of bringing these all the way up to the top and merging them in with whatever we had up there. Alright, so that is all good. It's all filling up. And I think we need to connect the coal ones through as well. Oh, speaking of, the coal train apparently is just returned. Oh no, we did already connect these. Go me. Alright, so there's our first batch of coal, and the train is obviously going to leave to get more batches later. Because the first batch can be fully emptied. Okay, that's not going at full speed, is it? Or is it just hiccuping because of the merging? It's just hiccuping because of the merging. Yeah, that's fine. Don't need to worry about that. This is filling up with coal. So how do we want to do this in terms of getting the belts from up there down to here, or vice versa? I think we go from the top and bring them down. I think that... Ah. I built a ceiling there. Alright, let's just take one bit of the ceiling out. And, okay. I need to bonk my head on that ceiling so that this doesn't happen. Get a nice overhead view of everything at least. It's fun. Alright, so now we drop down here. And these are all the belts with the stuff that needs to go on them. And what we need to do is we need to get these, like, over here, but all these pipes are in the way, which I kind of don't like those pipes being there. So what we can do is we can go down to a logistics floor here. So we can just send all of these down a layer. And let's get that in. And all of these can just go down a floor. And this is this really a Mark 1 belt? That's funny. It's 520 coal, so yeah, that's literally 40. Alright, so these all go in. And the Caterium is Mark 3, it looks like. As is the quartz. Alright. Oh, did I put all these in backwards? Yes, I think I did. That's annoying, but not the end of the world. We just take all these out. And don't step on a belt that'll grab me away. So these have to be outputting like that, and that, and that, and there, 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 and there. Now we connect them across that little gap. And it's going to be hard to tell what all of these are. So let's actually write that down. So from left to right, it is coal, coal, then copper, then iron. Coal, coal, copper, iron, limestone, caterium, limestone, caterium. We've run out of space. That's annoying. I definitely don't want to delete my notes. So we can just save space by abbreviating. Yeah, that's enough for me to know, at least. So from left to right, it is coal, coal, copper, iron, limestone, caterium, quartz. So now we go down here. There is already a logistics floor down there, but not in this exact vicinity. So this goes over there. And we just need to also make sure that they don't go the wrong way. Like we don't send them in backwards or anything. So that's left from right facing this way. So we have coal. We have coal. Copper. Iron. Limestone. Caterium. And quartz. Alright, so now we just have to bring all of these over in that general direction. Like that. Because that is the general direction of where we're going. And then these all go along. There's still gapped. They're spaced slightly weirdly. That's fine, I guess. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Alright, so we do that. Now, where do we have to get to? Like around this level, approximately, is where all the boxes are. And I think we do want to go a little bit past the boxes, so like out another couple foundations from there. So yeah, we'll just go out like here-ish. This is also lined up with that wall, which makes sense. And so now we just have to expand this and bring the belts over. And I guess just for neatness on this side, we can make sure these are all lined up normally. Coal, coal, copper, iron, limestone, caterium, and quartz. So that, and that, and like that. So now these just have to go across. that. Then this goes across like that. Now the rest of these aren't going to be completely straight because they need to line up ever so slightly. So there, and then this one, I don't know why this curved out that way for some reason, but we're going to have to fix that. It goes there and then across to there. Alright, that ladder there is just in the way. Out you go. And just a little more of this. So these belts go across, and then we will be... Actually, we need this to go out a little bit before it curves into line up, otherwise it's going to clip. There we go. And then one more. Comes out, lines up there, and in. Alright, so now we have all of those, and yeah, I don't really care to worry about the exact belt speeds. Let's just preemptively grab some of those so that that can be filling up ahead of time. Now is the fun part, which is the part where we get to do that. And I'm going to take from depot before inventory because we're going to be doing a whole lot of vertical belt lifts, which take up a whole lot of resources. And we might run out of encased industrial beams doing this. But we'll just have to see how that goes. And I guess for that reason I may as well make sure to use the proper speeds, because that means using less of any one item. Alright, so then we have to go down another layer. And just like this. And then you get to be Mark 1, and down we go. Alright. Probably not too many more of these. We just want to sort of go back and forth like this so that the whole thing doesn't shift huge amounts of space. Alright. And at this point, I believe we are low enough that we should just do the rest of it from the ground so that we get the alignment correct. Yeah, so that's definitely going to need to put some foundations in there. And now these come down. So that is 3, that's 3. The rest of these middle ones are 4. And then this last one is 1. Alright, so all of those are in. And now we need to connect all of the belts up. So this hole is important for going up and down. So these storage containers are going to have to get around somehow. And also the coal does need to do some work, because we need to make sure that they balance properly. So you get a smart splitter, you get a priority merger. Actually, I think we want to do that the other way around. So you get a priority merger, you're a smart splitter, and this is just so that they wind up in the right areas. So you go left any center overflow. And you take priority from center. And now we do that. So now this belt has as much on it as possible. And this belt has all of the spare. So that curves around and in there. And that's going to take ages to propagate through. But we also have a lot of belt wiring to do, so we're not exactly going to be waiting on it. Alright, so that's the coal in. And yeah, the first line is like halfway up before the slow line has even made it to the belts. So this one is copper. So which one of these bozos is copper? This one all the way over here. Brilliant. Alright, so this is going to have to come all the way along this way, and like all the others are going to have to cross over this one. Or alternatively, this one is going to have to cross over all the others. Yeah, let's do that. That's more convenient. So you can go up and then come out and around and then back down and in. So there's copper making its way up. So then the next one there is iron. I really hope I'm doing this right. Should be. Unless I've gotten disoriented. Alright, so which one of these is iron? Is iron the literal last one? Yeah, this is the iron all the way over here. So you are going to have to, a bit awkwardly, skip over iron there. And then come along here and then pass under iron again. We could have gone around, but that would have used more horizontal space than I need. Alright, then that can go in like that. Alright, looks like the copper and the coal have both seemingly reached approximately the top. So that's the iron in. Next up is limestone. So this one is the limestone. So you can come over here, and then we need you to be in default mode. We need you to go up and around here, and then down. And that is that. Limestone, check. Next up, Caterium, and then Quartz. Alright, so this is the Caterium. And these ones are the Mark III belts. Alright, how do we get all of this stuff in? I guess we can just go higher. We've only that, and then Alright, this is insane, but sure, you can do that. And I don't think I messed up with the belt speeds anywhere. This all should be Mark III. And then finally the quartz should be the easiest one, because we'll just get it across this line here. And actually, I have a nice, easy way of doing that. So, first we place some foundation over this way, and we're just going to pull from the top. And stop being in straight mode, that's causing problems. You can just come down here and go over and in. Alright, so that is all of the resources making it into the factory itself. So hopefully that all works. And hopefully we haven't mixed up the belts, because that would be terrible. So the next thing to do is, I guess, head up here and just confirm real quick that everything is working, and then start the great power lining. Alright, so yeah, all of these belts, except for the quartz, which is still making its way up, have made it up. And this all looks correct in terms of which things are on the belts. So unless I've straight up mislabeled these belts, there's the quartz. Unless I've straight up mislabeled these belts, this should be all set and ready to go. We just have the coal going over this way. Alright, so now we have the fun part, which is going to every single machine in the entire factory and powering them all up. And yeah, I guess there's nothing to do but just get started. So start with Mark III power pole. And we want to connect all of these up internally and then connect it up to actual power afterwards. Just because that's how I normally do things, and I think it is more satisfying. So let's get these connected up, and then we go over here, and I'm probably gonna miss something in all of this. So this is an enormous factory. It will be very impressive if I can get every single thing powered up on the first try. Now, if I were at all clever, I would be doing the power pole setups like while I'm building each production line. I think I'll do that in the future, but it's obviously too late to do that now. Alright, so that is that production line. Next, we have this one apparently. Let's get a new power pole in and get these started up. Alright, just keep going along. And this is going to take a huge amount of power. I think our grid should be able to manage it, but it's not a small factory. Alright, so we get these all set up. The slow copper belt is absolutely crawling along. That's fine, it doesn't have to be especially fast. Alright, so now we come along to these, which I placed via a blueprint, and they have their own built-in power poles, which Makes this a fair bit easier. And I did the same thing here. So we can connect all of these up. And like that. Okay. Just gotta feel for the little pings when you have a connectable building. But I think that is this floor done, and the only things that are registering are the power lines themselves, which obviously are always going to have spare connections unless something has gone very wrong. So we just bring the power down to the next floor, and now we start getting these packagers. So this is some fuel related thing. I don't know which exact part of the process this is. Might be the fuel unpackaging. No, it's probably the water packaging. So it has the output without the pipes. Alright, we almost missed a packager. Could have been bad. But we caught it. So now we head along here. And we get this other line, which this is the fuel packaging. Yes, we can see some of these belts have been pre-primed. Not all of them, which hopefully I knew what I was doing when I was setting that up, and that isn't a problem that I need to fix. Alright. So that is another line of those. Now we go around back here to these refineries, which are making the packaged fuel. And we just keep going along. And alright, that is that. Oop, don't fall down to the next floor just yet. We still might have some stuff to do on this one, maybe? No, this is a pretty simple floor. Alright, cool. Anything missing here? Doesn't seem like it. Alright, so then we go down to this floor and we place down another power pole. Now we have all of this, which I won't even pretend to know what these are. We'll probably figure out when it breaks in bug fixing. I could also just check right now, just to sate my curiosity. Quick wire production. That makes sense. Yeah, this is complicated enough that I don't even remember exactly what we need quick wire for. Alright, now we have to go over here and get these ones which are sort of out of the way. It's these sorts of things which I might potentially miss. Alright, so those are all in and there's nothing past that. So then we have this next big line of refineries. I don't know why I keep placing these power poles like over to the sides of the refineries like this. It's not a convenient place for them. Alright, so these just keep going through. And let's get another power pole in. And this is the massive rubber and plastic setup. You can tell because it's also pre-primed. Yeah, something I've noticed is that the oil alt recipes specifically tend to have lots of loops in them, like the packaged water loop for fuel processing, the plastic and rubber loop for plastic and rubber production. There's a lot of that sort of stuff with these. Alright, so that is that whole line in. Then we go over here and we get those two machines. And then we have, looks like, 2 more lines on this floor. So we go over here, put down that wire because it was getting too long. And then from that, we start connecting more of this stuff up. Alright, now we can place a wire there. And there we go, that's that all done. And now forward to this giant row of assemblers, which is probably making stators, maybe? No, circuit boards. Completely wrong. Cool. Yeah, this factory is the sort of thing which simply cannot be understood all at once. Just too big and complicated. Alright, so all of these get connected in. And then we're going to need another pole there. But I think that is it for this floor, so we can go down a floor. Alright, we seem to be past the refinery part, which means the floors are more compact, which is nice. Saves a fair amount of falling. Alright, so these all get connected across. And that's all of them. Now we can go there. So this will be the crystal oscillators into the computers, I think. It's the manufacturer into an assembler. Alright, so that is that. And then we have to work over this way. Just pick up those two. And this floor was quite small, actually. I wonder if further floors down will also be small. That would be nice. Alright, so we have logistics floor, and then we have this. So let's start connecting these up, and this is... what is this? This is the stators, okay. Cool. So let's bring the power line over. And these stators are very spaced out, presumably because they like go down directly into machines somewhere. It does make them a bit more annoying to power up, but not hugely. Then we go back here and we have these constructors, which I'm sure are doing something useful. Alright, so then we have that one, and that one. And again, buildings all spaced out like this are not the most pleasant things to power up. Now this is more like it. So we can put power to all of these machines, which, what is this doing? Wire maybe? No, this is steel pipes. Alright, so this just keeps going along. And keeps going along. Got a whole lot left, but we are... yeah, so powering up is fortunately quite quick, because you don't have to really do much thinking about what exactly you're powering up. Just see a building, click on it, So these all go along. And alright. So that is all attached up. And I think that is this entire floor. Tough to say, but probably. So now we go down here, stick a power pole in because we're a bit far away, and then we go to here. And these are the cables. It's funny to have cables be this far down, considering they're typically relatively simple. Alright, I've also started this in the middle of this giant massive row, so we're going to have to make sure to remember that we did that. Hello, click on that, bring it over here. Because it's going to be very easy to reach that end of this row and think, oh, I did it, but then there are going to be more over the other side. So this power line all goes across. And we just keep going. And now we're at 8 out of 10. I don't like to leave them completely without connections, so we're going to place a new one. So then that one will have 9 out of 10 if we need to slap anything into it later. Alright. And same thing with this one. I've got to be getting close at this point. Like, what, this is a row of like 40 or something? I've gone through a lot of power lines. Alright. Now the good news is that once this is all connected up, the ones that aren't connected will have a red light, whereas the ones that are connected will have yellow or green. So it'll be pretty easy to tell if I've missed anything once we're done. But for now we just have to run all the way over to the other side and finish off the other half of this row. Alright, here we go. Alright, and now we just snap all these in. And just keep going. And it looks like we have a lot less on this side because we started sort of in this general direction. So just got to get a couple. Alright. That almost didn't look like it needed one, but then it did. Concerning. Alright, so that is that whole massive row of cables. Now we have to go... Oh yes, I remember this whole situation here. So now we just have to connect all of these up, which is going to be pretty much identical to that, except this time we are starting all the way on one side, so we don't have to worry about doubling back. And this is going to be another 20 of these, which are making automated wiring. Alright, so if this is making automated wiring, then I think there's only like maybe one or two floors left. Like, I think just there are motors that go into this, right? So I think we just have to do those, and then we'll be good. Alright, that. And then just keep going. Almost done with this row. The clicking sounds of powering things up are so satisfying. Just... there we go. And then grab one last connection off of this, just to make sure that we haven't missed anything. And it seems like we haven't. Alright, so now we go down past another logistics floor and into this, which is, I believe this will be, no, heavy modular frames, right. So I think this is just straight up the last floor, aside from the final manufacturers. So we are practically done. Alright, so all the powering up has happened. But now we have to do these, which I imagine are the regular modular frames. Yep. Alright. Now this just has to go across all of these. And there we go. Yeah, I think we'll just have one power line for each of these sort of batches. That makes the most sense. There we go. And then we go over to this one and get all of these. Alright. There we go. Alright. Now we get all of these, and then it'll just be... well, first of all, are there any machines over here? No, there are not. Alright. So, then we just drop down here onto this floor, which is basically the ground floor. And we just have to power up all of these last manufacturers. And then we're going to have to check how much power this whole thing uses. Because it is technically an outside possibility that this will break the power grid. Don't want to activate it on and have a nasty surprise. Alright, so we get the sink. And that should be everything. Now, how much power does this use? This uses 6,235 megawatts. Now, if we go over to a power pole, which is active, we have... alright, so we have like 20,000, or actually production... I was looking at the wrong numbers there. So production is 35,000, consumption is 18,000. So that the additional 6,000 will bring this up to like 25,000, and we'll still have 10,000 spare. Cool. Alright, so now there's just one thing left to do, which is grab an active power line. Actually, I think I want... did I ever get... power switch? So active power line goes in there. Power switch is off. Then, we take that, connect it in, and now... alright, everything should be clear to go. Call this power switch ECU factory. And I guess I should call it a priority power switch. Just... circuit break priority. turn it on. And pop that in group 2, I guess. I don't know how priority power switches work, but we're all powered on, and we haven't exploded yet. That's a good sign. The belts are now moving along, of course. So now we just have to, I guess, go up to the top and start spotting problems. Alright. Perfect. Hit our head there. And now we go across. So these packagers are meant to be yellow. Technically, it would be fine for them not to be, but there, you can get a little bit more packaged water just for fun. And I don't have any packaged oil to give you, so you'll just have to be normal. Alright, so then that is... I'm seeing green. I am seeing some yellow over here. And let me guess, it's water shortages. Yep. It sure is. Alright, so we should have enough water in theory, but it is going to take some time for it to filter all the way around to everything. And let's see, what's the flow rate looking like? Crude oil flow rate is like 400 and something. This water flow rate is 0 there, 0 there, a couple hundred there. It might just be inconsistent. I'm definitely seeing water using buildings that are running. So yeah, we're gonna have to deal with the fluid filling, because this is obviously not getting enough crude oil, probably because of the whole pipe situation. Let's just confirm. Yeah, the crude oil situation actually looks terrible. Like, it's basically all not doing great. Back here, we're flowing out 400. Alright. What we have to do in order to get this to max speed is we need to just turn some of these guys off, I think. And by some of them, I mean like probably all of them, or most of them. It's also possible that this problem is being caused by some fluid-related issue, like the water tower might not actually be fully functional. That's a definite possibility. Because I'm not seeing any crude oil move up here, like any at all. And that is incredibly concerning. Yeah, we have literally one machine which is still active here. Now, these pipes look like they are at least doing something. Like, there's definitely fluid in them. And it's not just draining this. Although, Yeah, so this shouldn't be flowing at all because there should be nothing for it to access. So I don't know why this is oscillating, but it's probably fine. I think what I need to do is I need to drop down and confirm that the oil train is actually like outputting anything. So we go down here and the oil train is obviously one lower. Okay, so that's the problem. The problem is that we're only pulling it out of this one thing and not all the others, which means that the oil train is emptied. I don't know how I managed to make that mistake. I mean, that's incredibly obvious. So we run this pipe along here. And then we just have to take oil from all of these. Like so. And that should be good. Now we should see this speeding up some, maybe. I mean, something is happening. Now we just have to get up there and see if that has fixed it. Actually, it'll be easiest to tell. Alright, no, these are actively doing stuff with the trains, so we can't just check them. That would be too easy. Alright, so now we're back up here. And crude oil is flowing again. It's a good sign. And hopefully that last machine which I left turned on should be outputting. No, it still looks yellow to me. Yeah, still looks yellow. So, what is going on there? So we have crude oil in the pipes up to there. Oh, is it just taking a while to get through? It might just be taking a while to get through. It's got a lot of pipe to fill, obviously. Alright, so while that is doing that, how is the water side of things going? Similar problems, but seems less extreme. Alright, so this is definitely doing something, probably. Definitely probably doing something, maybe. It's hard to tell. The flow rate is showing pretty high numbers, but it's tough to say for sure. If this is just a fluid flow rate problem with the pipes being annoying, I'm going to be somewhat annoyed. Alright, let's get down here, see if this is running somehow. It shouldn't be. I think we probably just turn it all off until the pipes fill. Alright, so until these pipes fill up, we're not using crude oil for anything. And it's saying 300, but I simply don't know if I agree that there is like any oil at all going through here. Okay, maybe what I can do is if I stick on a valve there. Now it's one ways, so it's not going to backflow over to here. So any crude oil that is over this way has no choice but to fill up all of this stuff. And the valve flow rate is very low, dropping to 0, and then going back up. I mean, it should be several hundred. I should have plenty of crude oil here. Unless all of the oil trains have emptied, which seems unlikely, considering I just connected them up like 5 minutes ago. Alright, let's check some other stuff. Deuterium seems to be working. Quartz crystals are mostly working. At least they are getting output. Same thing. Copper, it looks totally fine, actually. At least that one does. What's this one's problem? Not enough water. So yeah, we are also having water shortages. And I believe probably... Oh, no iron ore back here. I didn't set up these smart splitters. I mean, that's probably helpful in just getting the water situation set up. But we should get it going. Just so that we can get something through. And then as far as this goes, still no real sign of any crude oil. Although maybe there's a bit more in these pipes. No, probably not. The valve is showing a big fat 0. Is it a problem here? No, it shouldn't be. Like, this is obviously not going to be doing anything. Let's drop down and see if, like, the crude oil train is left or something. Oh, it's because I'm a big dumb idiot and I connected these up to each other, but I never bothered. How have I made the same mistake twice? Like, I discovered the problem and then I immediately proceeded to not solve it. Alright, there is crude oil now attached up. And now this train will eventually empty out until we might need an extra tank or something. We'll have to see. It should be fine. Like, the train should empty out while there's still plenty of room in the fluid cargo freights, but we'll have to see how that goes. Depends really on how long it takes the train to get back. That determines how much of a buffer we need. Alright, so now there should be, yeah, plenty passing through that valve. And we're just going to let this whole thing fill up. And I think we're just going to turn these on like one at a time at first, starting from this end, because these are the ones that would be the slowest to get started otherwise. Alright, the pipes do need a lot of crude oil to fill up properly, but they are getting there. And this one is almost up. So once the pipes are all filled, we'll give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we start turning these guys on. So this is obviously going to fill up like instantly, because it's getting the full blast of this entire pipe setup. And each one that we add on is going to take a little bit longer to fill, but should get there eventually. And we want to be a bit patient with just making sure that we give the pipes time to stay filled. Alright, that is another one. Up to 50. And how much crude oil are we using? 397, and theoretically we could have as much as 600 coming out of this, so it really shouldn't be a significant problem in terms of getting this to fill up and manifold. There's another one. And give it a minute, and then turn that one on. So yeah, you can tell these ones are taking a bit longer to fill up just because the oil is going other places than just the one refinery. Alright, get another one on. And that is good. And we're probably fine at this point to just be a little bit more quick about it. But we are still going to wait for it to get up to 50. Which is definitely, like I said, takes more time with each one, just because of how pipes work. Alright, so that one is going. And it's up to 50. Very good. And then we get that one. And yeah, I'm feeling lazy at the moment. Let's just get all of these on so we can move on to actual bug fixing. These ones all have pretty respectable internal buffers from the first time I turned them on anyways, so it should be fine. Again, we are getting like 200 oil a minute more than strictly necessary for this process anyways, so we can just do that. And then that should be plenty of heavy oil residue production now. Alright, so next step is the water. The water is still filled up, right? Yeah, got more water in the water tower than we could ever hope to use. And now it is just a question of how long is it going to take for all of these buffers to fill. Like this pipe goes directly into this one, so it's fine. And that one is also fine, but these ones are not. So, how do we speed this up? Well, one way is take some of this pipe. Is this all working? Yeah, so the problem with the water is that there's just so much necessary that, like, we need, like, 3 full pipes worth. Well, more like 2 1/3 pipes worth. which makes it way more complicated to split up than just the one thing. And let's see, again, I think we go back here. That one is at 400 a minute. That one's down to 200 a minute. So I think we stick valves in. Just to make sure that backflow isn't a thing that we have to worry about. And then I suppose we should go around turning off some of the machines. Preferably some of the machines that are already filled up, because then we won't have to wait for them to fill up when we restart them. And if this doesn't work to let the water catch up, then we're going to have an issue. Yeah, I might have to, much like I did with the crude oil, I'm probably going to have to go down and check that the water is functional, because this is like a certain degree of there not being enough water is expected, but this is just abysmal. And it doesn't look like they're getting any at all, despite the fact that they were getting some in the past because they're partially filled. Alright, you can be turned off, as can you. So yeah, we're just going to turn off all of the machines that have full water buffers. That one is close enough. Alright, the rest of these are going to be mostly empty then. And those ones don't need water. And then also there's this whole thing down here. So this pipe is going down to the fuel. Both of these pipes are. And I guess these are probably getting priority on the water. And again, we're just going to want to turn off any that are maxed out. I'm not seeing any such things so far. Maybe this one? Nope, all of these are pretty bad for water, although better than the other ones. So I think there must be a water shortage for basically everything to be that bad. Like, you'd expect half of it to be getting more than it needs, and the other half to be struggling, but this is just completely terrible. So let's drop down here. And so these are the water pipes like halfway up. And I mean, it looks like we're going to have to drop down to see if the machines are backed up. If the machines aren't backed up, then that will mean that there's a distribution problem, like the pipes aren't fast enough. If the machines are backed up, then that will mean that, or no, the other way around. If there isn't a distribution problem, it means that the machines aren't producing enough and we're just going to have to wait. But if we see something like this, where like we got 64%, 12%, poison pillar, where are you? Is it like directly? Yeah, I think it's directly inside of the machine. Let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that one since it's just kind of close. Alright. So these, I mean, this whole set is basically not running at all. I mean, some of these machines are literally not running at all. Then we go over here. And we have 6% there. 34% there. Let's see, none of these are running especially well. 1% there. And these are like 15%, 5%. So yeah, the problem isn't the water production. The problem is that there's some bottleneck somewhere which is messing the whole thing up. So we need to find out where that is. Now this whole line is apparently flow rate 0, which is a huge problem. Actually, all of this is... the entire thing seems to have stopped. Interesting. Still hasn't started over here. Oh, wait, there's a little bit on that one. Just the tiniest possible amount. Alright, so if the whole thing is stopped, then... okay, wait, this one is flowing 600. How is this flowing 600 over here and 0, like 6 feet down the line? Also, how is this one flowing 600 while all the rest of these I just connected to aren't flowing at all? Yeah, so all of this was 0 a moment ago and is now quite high. Oh, and now it's 0 again. Fantastic. Just what I wanted to see. Absolute nonsense. Alright, so if these are all 0, then the only thing that makes sense is that the water tower isn't working, right? That has to be what that means. Because they would be outputting some, even if a tiny amount. So let's get over here and get all the way up here. That's like 200. I mean, the problem is they keep bouncing around. Like, I can't figure out what that means. So the one on the left is obviously the water tower line, so that should be 0. And this should be much higher than it is. That is 400-ish, which is good. That is straight 0. I don't know, like maybe it isn't connected up or something. Like there's somewhere where the things don't fit. Like they don't line up properly. Alright, up at the top here, we have some water in the pipes. So the pipes seem to be filled with water all the way up to at least this point. And water seems to be flowing through them. And there's also definitely enough water input. Okay, how about at this point? At this point, this middle pipe is almost completely empty. Meanwhile, the two outside pipes are almost completely full. So what does this middle pipe even go to? Just goes into here. Alright, so this is incredibly suspicious. So what this looks like there's some sort of backflow that was filling this, but without that backflow there isn't any water coming up this pipe. Because otherwise this would be filled up all the way. So let's trace this back and see if we can find some spot where the water seems to be interrupted. So back here, I just saw something with a flow rate of like 200. But that could just be backflow and sloshing. So I just stick another valve on. And flow rate is pretty high. And before settling down a bit, but it is still flowing. But crucially, like, it's completely empty on this side. And again, pretty full on this side. So what could this pipe in particular be backflowing to? How is that possible? Alright, let's actually do an experiment then. So if I drop down to here, that is still like that. Alright, so what if I take a junction and I put a big old fluid buffer and I start filling this big old fluid buffer from that. And actually, was that even the right one that I wanted to connect to? No, it wasn't. Alright, scratch that. Alright, so, big old fluid buffer, we're going to put it just over there. So what I want to have is a pair of valves there so that the only fluid going into this buffer is coming from this pipe going up. And this buffer should fill steadily all the way. And it looks like it is. Fill rate of 590 something per minute. And it's not dropping, at least not that I can see. Okay, so that is curious. So what that means is that as of here, this pipe is fully functional. Just to confirm that nothing has changed since then. No, it's still going. Alright, so take that pipe out, take that fluid buffer out. We don't actually want those. And again, we're just gonna... let's just slap some valves in there. I mean, these aren't gonna hurt, right? Like, they'll just make sure weird stuff doesn't happen. And so now the flow rate across this valve remains effectively 0. While the flow rates across these valves also seem to be mostly terrible. Alright, so we have nothing apparently going up from here. Nothing at all. And that is concerning, because there are definitely machines up there which could take water. And I think, yeah, so the only possible explanation for that, the only thing that could at all be happening, is that there is a head lift problem, and the water is trying to go up but is getting stuck at some point above this, which is pretty mysterious. So let's go up here. And yeah, there's precisely 0 fluid in this pipe at that layer. Now what's confusing is that we have our head lift generator over here. Like, unless something has gone wrong with this, no, this is still doing the same thing it was. Okay, also the crude oil is stopped. Why is the crude oil stopped? Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's stopped because these pipes are all filled because water isn't happening. As far as reasons to stop, that's a pretty good one. Okay, now this one is still running, but it looks like it was just using sort of the last of its reserves. All the rest of the water-based refineries have completely stopped. Which is incredibly annoying. Now, how do we fix that? Do we have to jostle that valve again? It's going to be annoying if that's the case, because it might indicate that we would have to do that at various other points in the future. So if we just drop all the way down here, follow this pipe down, eventually we'll reach its valve, which is being used to stop it from doing anything silly like actually using its water. So now we go over here, and if we take this valve and we let it go for a bit and then turn it back off. Now what I was hoping to see is all of these machines humming to life. But they've definitely just all stopped entirely. Ah, head lift. Why are you like this? So yeah, none of these machines are running at all. It's just 100% dead down here. So we do have a head lift problem, but I don't know why. Like, everything in the setup seems to be functional in the same way it has been every other time I've done this. And it has always worked before. It actively is working right now with... I'm just gonna just blow that up. I could have sworn I destroyed that one already. But whatever. Alright, so now we go back up. And over to here. So, a head lift. Oh, do valves reset head lift? Valves might do something. What if I take all those out? Then does this start working again? I'm pretty sure valves shouldn't stop head lift, but I guess it's technically possible that they might. So we take all of those out. I mean, it seems like flow might be happening again. We're going to have to get up to the top to see. Alright, now we're here. And don't fall off. Stay up here. Alright, we do have water moving. And valves are showing progress. The back sides of the valves are looking fine, except for this one. Can we Can we shut that off and just let this pipe fill a little bit? And let's actually just do that for all of these. So we're going to shut the valves off so that these pipes can fill all the way. And this one is doing so, albeit somewhat slowly. Alright, fill up. Why is this taking so long? I mean, again, these pipes should be filling at like hundreds per minute. Right, now it's filling at like 7. It got up to like 70 briefly. I don't understand why this stuff is like this. So yeah, just based on that animation, valves definitely do cut off head lift, which is annoying. I'd rather they not do that. I also don't know why this is taking so long to fill. It should be backed by a full line of water extractors. And the rest of these seem to be indicating that head lift is getting up here again. Which I don't understand. If valves reset head lift, then how that works exactly, but whatever. I guess this pipe was just super low all the way across, and so all the rest of the pipes in this line also have to fill up. Because it should be working. We definitely see water pumping about. It's hard to tell whether it's actually like being produced and sent over or if it's just sloshing, and I can't see well enough down there to tell. But it is definitely looking like it's, like, on the whole, ending up more full than it was previously. So that is a good sign. It's a very good sign. And the sloshing continues. You should be getting like hundreds and hundreds of water into these pipes. This should only take a few seconds. Like, genuinely, it should be 600 a minute. We can't have more than a couple thousand in this entire pipeline. Alright, but it looks like it is getting there. Looks like it is getting there. Alright, I know what I could do, is I can just put actual pumps on for this last bit of the journey, just so in case anything weird is happening, we can have actual pumps do the last bit. And again, I don't understand why this is taking so long to fill. I don't know for certain that it is filling, to be honest. Yeah, let's just get pipeline pumps in these 3 locations. And then get a power pole. And then activate them. And these shouldn't need to be super fancy pipeline pumps. Just those should be fine. And then they get powered up. And then we don't want that valve there anymore. Alright, this should... It looks like it might be working. Except maybe this one. Why is this one yellow? Flow rate 0, max flow rate 600. Is that just because this is already filled? Yeah, I think that's just because this one is already filled. Yeah, so that one is now yellow, as is this one. Alright, so now we're going to open the floodgates. And by floodgates, I mean these valves. And by open, I mean remove them. Valve, valve, not pipeline, valve. Alright, so that should hopefully be doing everything there. And now let's head back to the pumps to see how well they're pumping now that it's going into machines. Flow rate 100. Flow rate's almost 600. Is that going to bounce, or is that just stably very high? Let's hit 600, so it should bounce if it's going to. No, it looks like it might just be very high. And then this one is hovering in the 100 to 200 range. But it's only getting like 4 meters of head lift. How is that happening? Like previously it should have been getting like 9, 8 or 9. Alright, now it's getting up to 600 before crashing down. And that's hovering in the 100 range, as is that. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to see if it's working from over here. So some of these are looking good. Like, they are... These ones, at least, are apparently all filling up. So let's deactivate them for now. So I believe the entire Caterium line, except for maybe one machine, is manually deactivated. Alright, so let's get all of that off. Now, how is this doing? It's like most of the way good, but not quite. Which is weird, because it should be getting it pretty directly. These ones are all still struggling. Did I manually turn these off, or are they just bad? They're just bad. Alright, and then these are also all mostly yellow, except for those ones which are green. Although these are yellow because their production paused. And these are probably mostly filled. Alright, so let's pause all of these as well. And just... with all of this production paused, there should be absolutely no excuse for the machines that aren't getting anything. And let's see here, these ones are apparently still struggling somehow, which is like basically incomprehensible to me how this is still happening. We must have shut off like hundreds of water by this point. The only major user left is going to be the fuel down here, which I don't even know if that's running. Alright. let's get a fluid buffer here. I don't know if that'll do anything, but bam, fluid buffer. And I don't know, maybe that'll also somehow help with the water supply. Yeah, I don't really know how that works. I think maybe no fluid buffer, just because it's going to take a whole bunch of water to fill it up, and while it's doing that, none of these are getting water. Alright, let's head over here. Were these manually turned off, or have they still somehow not got any water? Somehow, some ways, 80% of the water use in the factory is turned off, and these are still getting none. How is that even physically possible? It's because they're right on the end of this whole giant line. Alright, let's do a connection in there, and maybe that will help a little bit. So now these should be getting water more directly from this pipe. And I don't know if that'll cause anything to change or if it'll just shove the problem around, but hopefully it'll do something. So this middle pipe is showing 0% flow rate, as is this right one. Is that just because I've turned off literally everything they're connected to? It honestly might be. Or at least whatever they are connected to that hasn't been turned off, this one is getting more priority on. That's also a possibility. So the concrete is starting up now. Alright, I'm just gonna turn things back on and see what happens. And we'll just try to fix the problems with the factory fully active. Just so that some stuff can happen while I'm doing this. Yeah, I expected bug fixing to take all day, and I was not wrong, although I really wish it was less fluid shenanigan bug fixing and more like actual bug fixing with belts and stuff. But it is what it is. So these are all on, they're just backlogged. And it does look like that is slowly changing as the rest of this stuff gets activated. So let's run along and get any of these working that weren't already. Looks like these are all green at the moment. Yep. And then we go over here to these ones, which are receiving some water at least. And then we have these ones, which I've deactivated all of. So let's get them running again. And then hopefully with all this turned on, the factory will work. I mean, it's quite possible we already have our 100 ACUs. I doubt it, but we might already have some at least, just from whatever has been working at low percent efficiency while I've been fiddling around with this stuff up here. Alright, so the whole factory is turned on now. And it looks like, at least for the moment, it's mostly working on this level. So now the iron goes along and boots up these to make steel. Alright, now we get to drop down a level. And we have these which need to loop but aren't. So we need empty canisters, it looks like. So fortunately I have a ton of those in my inventory at the moment. So let's just find wherever is missing them. You only have 2, so you can get some spares. Alright, so here we go. And these all merge up into a single belt line. So this should distribute the canisters across evenly later. Alright, so that should be fine. Should solve that problem. And now we go here, and I see a couple of yellows. Are they just missing canisters that are going across to them at the moment? Yeah, so they just need the packaged water, which should be showing up any second. There we go. And then this one shouldn't have a packaged water problem. Although it does. Alright, that's fine. So this is going to get the packaged water. Oh, no, okay. So the problem is... No, so this does have to be set like that. And we just need to... We just need to get this particular line going more. So throw some empty canisters in there. Speaking of packaged fuel, I need some of that. And let's also grab a stack of packaged water. And we can throw that in there. And that should help that a lot. Alright, this one is still yellow, still missing empty canisters. So in you go. And probably gonna have to come back like at least one more time to refix the problem. You can have some spare packaged fuel as well to keep you going. Because this is the one that is going to run out of packaged water if anything does. So if anything in here isn't 100%, that's the machine that'll run out of packaged water first. Alright, so this floor seems to be operating. Didn't seem to be any actual bugs, just cycle problems. Alright, speaking of cycle problems, I need to get as much plastic and rubber as I can to get this whole thing started. Alright, so these all get plastic. And I could have sworn that I had preset this up, but I guess not. And then, are these the ones that just output? Yeah, so I don't want to pre-fill these ones with rubber because that'll just be pre-filling the next row down, and I don't even know if that one needs it. So instead, we go over here and make sure that all of these are pre-filled with rubber. So this is going... Alright, I see a yellow light there. Why? What is wrong with you? So you have no plastic. So let's give you some plastic and also pre-fill you with some rubber. So that will be especially helpful for you since you aren't supposed to be outputting at 60 a minute. Alright, then we put some rubber into there and into there. And you get a little bit. And you get some. And you get some. And we need more. So, put some into there. And then just this one. You can have a little bit of extra. We have to go over here, and this one isn't getting fuel. And that one is outputting plenty. So did I just mess up the fuel connection here? Yes, I connected the fuel into that one instead of that one. We just have to do that, and then that should be fine. There we go. Yeah, because that's the output side, which means we don't need to have fuel connected up to that. We already have fuel connected up to this side. And there goes some plastic. Alright, now we go over here. These are all looking green at the moment. Not surprising since I just manually filled them all, but is a good start nonetheless. So now this is where a whole lot of the rubber gets used. And looks all good for now. Seeing a whole lot of green there, which is a good sign. Drop down to this floor, and these are all non-functional. 0 crystal oscillators. Okay. 0 AI limiters. Okay. Alright, so this is just the plastic problem, which I fixed just now. And we're just going to have to wait for that to propagate along. The belts are going to be a bit slow, but shouldn't be that huge of a journey. Yeah, so the plastic is already here, and it just has to get down to there. And then the whole computer setup can start producing. Alright, now this, I saw a bit of yellow, I think. Yeah, so this isn't getting enough steel pipes. Because this isn't getting enough steel ingots, which are all of these having the same problem? Yes. Alright, that is very alarming, because this is a load balanced setup, and it looks like there's enough on the belt, which means that I messed up this somehow. Alright, we get to actually do some math. So this is 30, so this is going to be what? 30, assuming all these are the same. 30, 60, 90, 120, 150. Counting 150 here. So, okay, actually, let's see. Is this the problem? So that's 270. Yes. That is fortunately a relatively easy fix. So I never upgraded that. So it could only move 120 through at max. Now it should be able to get the full 150. And hopefully my load balancing would be correct. Alright, now where was that plastic that was broken? so here we go. These are running now. And making AI limiters, which hopefully that's all connected across. So now we just have to wait for the AI limiters to get into all of these. Fortunately, it just takes one each to get started. Otherwise, this would be a bit of a long startup time. But crystal oscillators are starting to turn on. You can see some of those lights are green, including this one. And we just have to wait for these two to get theirs. And once it's started, it should stay steady, because we have the right amount and it's probably split correctly. Yeah, I mean, it's an easy 1 to 6, so there's not going to be any problems there. And now we can start to see some crystal oscillators move out here towards the computers. And also plenty of circuit boards coming through, which I assume is almost overfilling these. Yeah, so that's up to 100 already. But this is started. Alright, so we are starting computer production. Crystal oscillator production is almost there. It looks like it's just going to be the slowest to reach all the way down here. Yeah, so that is fine. So we have one machine making computers at the moment. The rest should start up. We have crystal oscillators going through. And it's just difficult to see from this floor. We're going to have to drop down. So yeah, there goes a crystal oscillator into that one. And then this one can go along into one of those. Alright, so that is computers. Computers, check. And yeah, so these two are green. That last one is green. These middle couple are still getting their oscillators together, but that should happen soon. Yeah, so that is started, and that is started, and now this one is stopped briefly, but that's just because the delay problem probably. Are all of these running? Yeah, all of these seem like they are running. So we just have to wait a bit. They didn't start at 100%, which means that not starting at 100% is going to have to trickle through this a little bit before it gets all the crystal oscillators, but it should be there any second now, just about. Okay, no, now that one started and this one stopped. It's like playing whack-a-mole, but the problems are getting less and less significant, and probably another cycle or two and that will be good. Alright, so now we just drop down here. This one is short quick wire. All of them short quick wire. Yes, the pipes look fine. Alright, so yeah, the pipe production here is fine at least. At least almost fine. It's not actually perfect, but should be good enough. Then all of these are a whole lot of yellow. A whole lot of yellow over here. Yeah, this entire thing looks yellow. Oh, it's yellow because they've produced all the steel pipes that they can use. And actually this looks like I messed up a belt speed somewhere. so let's follow here. Yeah, so this is not the stop and start of a belt, which is occasionally getting resources pulled off of it. This is the slow movement of a belt, which somewhere in here. Is that this one? Yeah, I think that one. We can send that down, and hopefully that should resolve the problem. So now it is running at whatever speed it actually needs to run at. Alright, so that was a bit of a distraction from where we were, which was a couple floors up, dealing with quick wire. Alright, so that's a potential problem. So these machines seem to have a lot of quick wire and not much rubber. But the other place we were using quick wire up here, we had not enough of it. That's these machines not getting enough quick wire. Alright, so we're going to have to look into that. First of all, it's probably the most likely situation is that the quick wire production just isn't enough. I'm going to hope that it isn't a splitting issue. If it's a splitting issue, I will be real sad. So up we go. And we go up another level. And here we have all this quick wire going about. And it is a splitting issue because both of these belts are saturated. Okay. That's concerning. So let's go. These are the ones that weren't getting enough, right? Yeah, so this is 37.5 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 375 quick wire, basically. Alright, so 375 quick wire, and that is coming in on these belts here, which is obviously nowhere near capacity. So I'm looking for bottlenecks in this, and not immediately seeing any. Alright, so this is merging off of... Oh, is this not fast enough in here, maybe? Yeah, that'll do it. Alright. So that was only getting, like, that half of the stuff. And clearly, I mean, this merger has no purpose if it isn't connected up to this. So now the question would be, is this supposed to be a splitter, or is it supposed to be like a smart splitter with priority left? And this merger, is this supposed to be a priority merger in any way? It's tough to say. Tough to say at a glance. But this is definitely getting all of the quick wire it needs, which means that it's probably fine. Assuming that this wasn't important in some way. I wish I had signs in here saying how much each of these were supposed to be. Alright, so this... Yeah, I don't know. So at the moment, this is Probably. I mean, that might be 375, honestly. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell for certain. We're just going to have to wait and see if problems surface elsewhere, basically. So these should, by this point, probably, yeah, definitely by this point, receiving the full blast of the extra quick wire. And so we'll just have to see if that overfills them, or if it turns out just right. But it doesn't... If it is overfilling them, it's not by a lot. I mean, they're still sitting down at, like, mid-20s. Alright, so now we just head down here. And we have all that junk. Alright, onto this floor. What is wrong with you? Not enough cables. Alright, so yeah, I can see some yellow lights on the cable production. Not enough rubber. Alright. So, the rubber, is that production or splitting? Rubber comes from over here, which comes from over here, which comes from this. Alright, well, it doesn't look at a glance like this is complicated enough that there would be a major splitting issue. I might just make that mark 4 just in case, but I don't think it matters. So, I mean, this is clearly, right, all of that is getting through. Which makes me think it is a production problem. So we're going to have to head over, or it could be a splitting problem back here, maybe. So this rubber just comes there and then immediately goes out that way. Yeah, let's check production problem first, because that is hopefully easier to resolve. The rubber splitting is all a very complicated system. So up we go. And I had thought we had fixed the rubber problem, but of course we might not have. If the rubber problem was something other than just setting up the loop. Alright, this one is getting exactly 0%. Now, it is a whole big fancy splitting and merging setup to get there. But it doesn't matter because none of this is being used at all. So where is it supposed to come from? What in the... Is this just circular? Okay, well, I mean, that portion is circular, obviously. But where does anything get into this loop? Like, what? This all seems... I mean, if I were to be a piece of rubber entering this section of splitting, how would I get here? The only way... No, it's definitely just impossible. So there's something else that I was supposed to merge into this merger, which I haven't. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what this all is supposed to do. Alright, let's move on from that temporarily. This is getting its plastic from back here. And this gets its plastic either from that whole loop or from over here. Yeah, absolutely what on earth is all of this? This entire thing is... I mean, we have an output going that way. We have an output going that way. No belt at any point enters this entire mess. Which means I have to figure out what this was doing and figure out where I made my mistake. So one option... No, well, it could be, for example, that this was meant to be pointing this way, and no, but that's definitely wrong. There's too much stuff that depends on that being that way. It's definitely this merger, right? There's definitely something that goes into that merger and does something. Alright, better question. If you were a piece of rubber or plastic on this whole setup, where would you end up? So that I know what that is. So you could obviously just loop around here forever, but statistically you're going to either go there, there, or there eventually. And this is going to get half of it. Each of those two are going to get a quarter. So then this... Okay, so it's either going over there or into here. Got it. So this is splitting the plastic between the two weirdos. We have that weirdo there. And then we have this belt, which goes over to this weirdo over here. And it'll presumably get a lot less. So... we need to figure out where the plastic for that is coming from. Is it just this plastic line? It could just be this plastic line here. Oh, I bet I know. I bet I know. So this should be set to center overflow. Yes, it is. So let's just pop that in there. And I sure hope that wasn't meant to be at a specific speed, but it's the overflow of this whole speed balancer, so it shouldn't matter. And that should get the rubber all set up like that. And it's gonna take a little while to loop it around, obviously. Apparently there's a whole lot of backlog plastic, which might be a concern. I think I want... I'm assuming at least... I want that to be a priority merger with priority left so that this doesn't become an issue. Where there's more stuff backing up on these belts than I expected. Alright, so yeah, there's probably been all sorts of spare plastic built up because these weren't being filled. So this is going to backlog a lot, but it should be fine. Alright, whatever spare plastic has definitely gone at this point, and we're just sending a couple random little bits through now. So that should balance out. Now it's just a question of, is the rest of this working aside from those two? I see a yellow light over here. Is this just the other weirdo, which the plastic just hasn't made it across the belt yet? Yeah, that's what's happening. Alright, so that should all be okay. And hopefully Yeah, so that will get a little bit more and it'll be good to go. And then all the rest of this seems to be green for now, at least. So that is a decent amount of additional rubber added, right? It's like an additional 60 or 70. So hopefully that will solve whatever rubber shortage problems we had. And we can continue moving on down. Right, I see a yellow light over there. Is that just... probably just... No, this one isn't getting steel ingots. So I didn't connect that across. Easy mistake to make. I don't know why this is like this exactly. But it's probably fine. I'm sure I knew what I was doing at some point in the past. I'm not actually sure at all, but whatever. Alright, so all of those are still yellow, and I assume it's still just because... yeah, still because there's too many steel pipes. Alright, so now we just keep going down floors until we see more yellow. Here's some. So yeah, this is just the rubber shortage, which hopefully resolves now. It's tough to say whether that additional 70 will really do it, but it might. How much rubber does this need in total? How sensitive is it to an additional 70? 4 per machine, and they're only 74%, so we're looking at like maybe 40 less rubber than usual that this whole thing is getting, and we just added an additional 70 rubber. So that should be fine once the rubber gets through. It's obviously a big fancy splitter system that has to get through to get here. But that should be that. And then, snap that floor done. We're going to have to drop down to the next floor and keep in mind that what is this? This was automated wiring that this was making, right? So there shouldn't really be any problems from automated wiring shortages. At least not on the next couple of floors. So now we're down here. I see a yellow. What is your problem? Not enough concrete. That is all the way up at the top. Alright, so these are also not getting enough concrete, unsurprisingly. Alright, so now we have to go all the way up. And I guess first, while we're right here, we can just assess if it's a splitter problem. Quick glance doesn't seem to be. I mean, both production lines were having concrete shortages, so that would make a splitter problem relatively unlikely unless it was splitting unevenly to individual machines within the production lines, which is of course possible, but I don't think very likely. Meanwhile, this is supposed to be 240, and just like at a glance, this is clearly not 240. Actually, this is so incredibly regular that this makes me think it is a belt speed problem where I placed a Mark I belt somewhere. It could be a production problem, but yeah, here we go. It's this right here. Or something. This one? Yeah, it's that one. Alright, concrete shortage solved. Alright, so now we drop down. And that should be the concrete shortage solved. Let's also see if we can just check whether the rubber has made it through yet. Yeah, so these are up to 87%, which and probably rising too. I mean, that happened instantly. So the rubber shortage should be solved for any future things that need rubber. They should be fine now, and if they aren't, then it's probably another unrelated problem. Alright, so we drop down here. This is still chipping away at making modular frames, but it's the concrete that's the problem here. These have plenty of modular frames. Actually, this modular frame production was 100%, right? We can just check that. Yeah, should be fine. So now we are just simply waiting on the concrete. We made that fix, and it should be coming through pretty quick. See if I can just spot it. Yeah, this definitely looks much better already. And is probably going to be a bit overproducing for a while, just because it would have been backlogged on the slow belts, and these belts are fast enough. They're 270 instead of 240. Alright, so that... yeah, these belts are all pretty slow, but even still, it's not a hugely long journey. So this should be getting through soon. That one you can tell, actually, that the fix got made in between those two. Alright, so concrete shouldn't be an issue. And yeah, there we go. Down a little bit more to these. And we are producing some. We're not 100% yet, but there are adaptive control units coming out the other side. Now let's stop by and see. We might already have 100. We also might not. Yeah, we're up to 50 now. So that is still pretty spectacular. I mean, we're halfway there, and the factory still hasn't started properly kicking into gear with the heavy modular frames. Alright, then the next thing is we might not have enough raw resources to fuel all of this. That's sort of my main concern at this point, is that we're going to like bottom out of quartz or something and have none left. Just because we are using a lot of resources for a lot of things. This is not the only factory in the world, and I don't think I attached that much up to it like in advance. I don't know if I'm even mining enough raw resources for this. But that will be a pretty distant future problem. At least like distant in terms of like an hour or two from now probably. Because like I have enough reserves that even when things start to become problems, we'll be able to store for a good while. And I mean, this is going to be enough resources already physically present to get the remaining 50 adaptive control units. And then it'll just be a question of running along in a future stream to get all of this working properly for good. Alright, now these still aren't getting any heavy modular frames. I would have thought that the concrete would have gotten through to it by now. Nope, still down at 7%. And these are up to 50%, and they're looking like they might be 50% and rising. And there's definitely a steady stream of concrete coming in here. This is like maybe half a belt. Alright, so that should actually... I mean, if this line of concrete is steady like this, then we should have fixed the problem. Yeah, and we can see here where the sort of point where I fixed the problem is, and it's about to be fixed for that machine. This machine already appears to be going strong, as does this one. And this one also looks fine. So, heavy modular frames are producing at 100% now, which means that unless there's some other problem further back, we'll be producing adaptive control units at 100% in, what, how long is this going to take? 90 seconds, plus however long these belts take. So I think this is pretty much done. We're up to 60, and we should be getting 10 a minute, so theoretically it should take 4 minutes. Reality, of course, it's going to take probably more like 10, just for the heavy modular frames to get through. But, like, we are basically at the point where this factory is done. And our first big wave of bug fixing should have gotten it up to pretty high percentage production. We're going to have to come by a little bit in the future because there's probably more small errors that I've made here and there which I haven't noticed yet, but it's very, very difficult to tell when you have the big errors sitting here, like basically 0 heavy modular frames to most of these. But should be any second now that we start seeing the occasional modular frame on the belt. Yeah, here we go. This one is produced, and it's now all set up to do more. Alright, I think that will be that. We have a functional adaptive control unit factory. So, next stream will be tomorrow, and we're going to be playing Factorio, so make sure to stop by for that. I am starting to properly scale up my modular factory there to have all the various different things in it and have it replace my old factory. It's still somewhat slow going, but we are getting there. And then here in Satisfactory, we've just finished this, and of course probably all know what that means. Having adaptive control units in conjunction with the fact that I also have the other 2 project parts means that we should be good to complete phase 3. So next Satisfactory stream will not be on Friday because I'm going to be out of town over the weekend. I'm not 100% certain if I'll be back by Monday and, able to stream and everything. So I'll probably figure that out at some point soon. So there's definitely not going to be a stream on Friday. There might not be a stream on Monday. And then we'll be back as usual on Tuesday for Factorio, and we'll definitely be having a Satisfactory stream on Wednesday. So yeah, make sure to stop by in the future. I stream every weekday except obviously for the vacation days from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, alternating between Satisfactory and Factorio. So if you're interested in factory building games, like seeing me figure out how to do stuff, then make sure to stop by, follow if you haven't already so that you can know when I'm live. And thanks everyone for hanging out. I will see you guys next time.